Bringing joy and vital humanitarian aid some 4,000 miles from Ireland to the poor, sick and desperate of Kazakhstan in Central Asia. Once part of the communist Soviet Union, many now struggle against dire poverty, ruined health and poor social services. Humanitarian projects in this vast country have always presented a formidable task for the Greater Chernobyl cause, the only Irish charity working in Kazakhstan.
25, right? Okay, so we go. So, and do you want to go? And so the girls are going to go now and distribute the clothes to the people.
No mean feat in a country so far from Ireland and on the borders of Russia and China. Now it's a challenge taken up for the very first time by 4 committed transition year students from East Cork. Over the course of a week in May 2017, they've volunteered to help the charity with its work with the young and old, babies, toddlers and the frailest adults. All hoping to broaden their education and their horizons in the process.
That sounds like a thing that I would like to see, you know, like I think that would be a great experience, you know.
Fiona came and talked to us in the school, and after I saw her talk, I knew I had to help.
When I had mentioned it to people, this was the charity that they always supported. They said that if they see the bucket, people collecting, they will always support it because they know that it's going for good.
We don't normally go on a foreign trip in TY, so we kind of stick to the country, stick to Ireland, so it was amazing.
The colourful and sprawling indoor market in the industrial city of Semi in the northeast of the country gives the group its first contact with the local Kazakh population.
Will you do it for 20,000?
They come here to haggle for and to buy fresh fruit and vegetables, meat, eggs, tea, biscuits, even sweets. All very commonplace, you might think, but as the girls will discover, rare luxuries in the institutions they'll be visiting. Bear in mind that in Kazakhstan, a very good monthly salary is only €200.
That's 50 euros a week. So if you pay, let's say something like 35 euros for bananas, that's their monthly. You know? And I suppose really if they're charging it, it's very sad, but I suppose it's survival of the fittest, isn't it? Yeah.
All 4 have been very enterprising, raising the funds they needed for this trip themselves.
We had a coffee morning in the nuns' dining room in Fermoy. There was a street collection at the very start of the year, and I also fell back on my Castlines club to help me, GA club, to help me fundraise, and they were very, very supportive.
We had a backpacking super value in Mitchelstown, and we had another backpacking centre in Fermoy, and we collected at the Harty Cup final, and we did a town collection, we did a coffee morning, which was in the church in Fermoy.
I did a number of bake sales, backpacking, street collecting. I went round to all the businesses in Fermoy and just asked them for any donations really.
I organised, along with my mother and my family, a coffee day. It was called From Currahu Glanmar to Kazakhstan. We didn't want to just say coffee morning. We wanted to make it sound not better, but just something different, because people do get sick of the usual coffee mornings.
So be under no illusions. For the dedicated quartet travelling to Kazakhstan with over 300 kilos of aid and gifts, this was no glorified holiday, no easy option taken as part of what some glibly dismiss as a DOS year. There's a typically ecstatic welcome for the group at the city's main psychiatric centre for adults. The 400 residents here have a wide range of difficulties, conditions and ages, anything from 18 to 70, as they join the final stage of the Kazakh care system, still organised along strict Soviet lines. It's one that divides and then cares for babies, adolescents and adults in separate institutions.
When we stepped out of the bus, let's say, they just came over straight away and they were hugging us and they wanted to show constant affection and they just were touching our hair and touching our hands and they just wanted high fives and for us to hold their hand. That's all they wanted, just to know that there was someone there looking after them and that there was actually people visiting them for once, because not many they don't have families, and whoever did have families, I'd say they didn't visit them very often.
Your mom is somewhere, and I'm sure your mom is thinking of you.
The group gets the opportunity to see the home at close quarters and to meet and talk to some of the residents with the help of an interpreter. It turns into an emotional experience, one that brings home to the volunteers the huge gulf between their own stable lives as part of loving families and the plight of some of the residents.
There's lots of people here.
Here, two cousins, now adults who grew up together as orphans, explain what they want most in life. In this case, a treasured wish.
We were asking these two young sisters what their hopes and dreams were, basically, and they said to find their brother. And that just touched me so much. Like, to find their brother, that's their biggest dream. Like, most people would be like, oh, I want to be famous, but no, they want to find their brother, and that was really sad.
This is a first visit to this place too for charity director Fiona Corcoran. She's impressed by the conditions, which are good by Kazakh standards. But as always, she finds that there are basic improvements that could be made. The group is appalled by the communal showers. They find that because of a combination of government budget cuts and the size of the boiler, there's no hot water between April and October, and very little during the depths of winter, when the residents must brave the elements.
So this is where they come out to. Minus 35, can you imagine that? And the children, the special children, our beautiful children with Down syndrome. Yeah.
We saw the ladies' showering room and there was only one shower that was actually on the wall and the rest were basins of to wash yourself, and there was a hose and that was it.
It's a situation the charity cannot walk away from. So by the time the group leaves, it's been agreed that Fiona will raise the 50,000 euros needed for a new water heating system. Funds also for a lift to allow the most severely disabled, now stranded upstairs, to move without being carried from the upper floor of the building. By contrast, the baby home in Semi shows vividly what the charity has already achieved in the 18 years it's been working here. Their most recent contribution, a commitment to raise €10,000 to buy a second washing machine to deal with all those sheets and children's clothes. Back in 1999, this place had all the characteristics of a grim and filthy Soviet-style orphanage, smelling of singed hair and urine, with depressed staff in a squalid building, poor diet and play facilities, and joyless children. The transformation meant installing new washing and drying machines, improving medical facilities. And, of course, regular deliveries of the gifts and toys that most children love and should expect. Now, thanks to the hard work of some Irish knitting groups, there seem to be plenty of hats to go round. Again, a very happy but equally moving experience for the group.
Everywhere, like the little children who have really nothing, in a way, how happy they are with that. Do you know, we have a boy fostered, and I really do think that what his conditions would have been like if we hadn't got him. Do you know? So, yeah. He's so lucky.
From Kazakhstan's very youngest to its very oldest, living now at least with some dignity in clean and comfortable conditions that owe everything to the generosity and determination of the Greater Chernobyl cause. These are the elderly, the entirely destitute, the completely dispossessed. They are undocumented, living at the Red Cross Red Crescent Hospice in Semi. As far as the Kazakh state is concerned, these desperately poor and sick people do not exist, as they have no identity papers. A minor problem when you consider the appalling conditions in which they'd been living when Fiona first encountered them in 2008. The living and the dying, languishing cheek by jowl.
I was shocked to the core. In my 14 years as a humanitarian aid worker, I have never seen such deplorable conditions. But we are now determined to act and to give some dignity to these forgotten people and renovate the building.
Along the clean corridors that no longer reek of urine, the volunteers distribute some of the 300 kilos of aid from donors in Ireland. Blankets and sweaters for warmth, chocolates and sweets as the rarest of treats.
She's loving it, yeah. Yeah, she's loving you too. Baby over here. Perfect, yeah.
Anne Norman, a former nurse and staunch supporter of the charity, notices the improvement in the beds, another gift from the charity.
Oh, she has a ripple bed actually. She's a ripple mattress. I see the machine. Good. Great. Yeah, so she has that.
So she's a little bit of comfort.
Yeah, it'll prevent pressure sores.
All this on top of a welcome boost in medical care and diet, where a pitiful daily allowance of 4 cents for food has been increased 25 times over to reach €1.
If they were still living in the places that they were living in before, like, God knows what would be happening, you know, it would be horrible for them. And if they hadn't been found by you and you'd seen that this had been happening, then who would have helped them, sort of thing, you know?
Signs of progress too in an entirely new building, designed and paid for by the charity, who raised €500,000 for a project built on hospital land given by the state. The charity supplied much of the equipment too, shipped by container from Ireland. A specialised facility, it'll treat over 1,000 patients a year, including residents from the hospice.
Welcome, you look wonderful. Привет, как дела? Normal. How are you? Welcome.
The gigantic scale of this country, some 40 times bigger than Ireland, in fact larger than the whole of Western Europe, becomes clear on a journey into the sparsely populated countryside around Semi. The vast steppe seems bleak and interminable, but the group discovers it has its uses, some benign and some more sinister. The landscape supports widely scattered villages, often extremely poor and reliant on livestock and subsistence farming. People scratch a living and hope their gardens grow. But Fiona also explains that other villagers found themselves inside a nuclear test site called the Polygon.
But you know, some of the villagers that came from here, let's say they're grandparents now. Yeah, they were brought closer to the test site.
It was here at Ground Zero, which she visited in 2004, that the Soviet Union conducted over 400 tests over a 40-year period from 1949. The sum of many Hiroshimas rained down on an unsuspecting rural population. No one was evacuated or even warned about the deadly contamination they faced.
Chernobyl was one dreadful accident. But here, the Russian government used their own people as human guinea pigs.
This trip is certainly emotionally testing, and a good team spirit is essential to overcome some of the practical difficulties. Given the vast distances involved, there are epic journeys to be made. Sometimes it's better to take the train. The group may have reassessed what they think of as first-class accommodation after 2 arduous train journeys, one of 7 hours, another overnight of 13 hours. That one was achieved in a so-called deluxe Kazakh sleeper compartment. Ever tried anything like this before?
13 hours. You wouldn't really do that anywhere else.
Train journey to Dublin is only about 2 hours, so it's not like you'd be going anywhere. Where would you go with a 13-hour train journey?
I don't think Ireland's big enough to do 13 hours at the top.
We'd be stopping at every town.
Yeah.
It's so worth it. And even if you hate the travelling, or you hate being on planes or trains, or if it's just not your thing, like, you'll get over that. Do you know, you don't see that time going.
A long but important journey, as it takes the group to Iagus, and a project that owes everything to the charity. A depressed town, and one that suffered badly after the collapse of the Soviet Union. The orphanage too shared in that decline, at least until the Greater Chernobyl cause decided to intervene in the depths of one bitter winter.
It's absolutely appalling that these are the toilet facilities here and the children are forced to come outside in temperatures that drop as low as -35 to use this so-called facility. It's absolutely horrendous and appalling, and it's no wonder that the children suffer from so many sicknesses and diseases.
These were shameful conditions that contributed to an alarming number of deaths throughout the winter months. Children from the age of 5 were sent here by order of the state, at that stage too old for the baby home in Semi. Some barely survived the journey. It was a shocking discovery that once again compelled Fiona to act and to raise the money necessary to build an entirely new wing. Now proper showers, kitchens and classrooms replace their dank and dilapidated predecessors.
It's amazing how much it's changed. Like, they don't have to go outside to go to the bathroom, and they don't, like, they're clean, and it's warm here. Like, we walked in last night and it was warm when we walked inside, and it's like, that's really good that they're able to do that. And the food always smells amazing as well.
Dramatic and recent improvements too in the regime running the place, with an inspirational director introducing new official standards of care and more specialised nursing staff. Now 170 nurses and general staff, supported by the charity, look after just over 100 young residents. Child mortality too has fallen steeply. Once 1 in 10 failed to survive the winter. Now it's just a tiny handful from the frailest and most vulnerable.
To see the difference, you know, they're so happy. The new staff, they're just really loving with the kids. They care. It's not a job to them, and it's so natural. Even the director, it's so natural what they do, and it's just really lovely to see.
Much to impress. But there are also examples of the glaring need for further improvement. The volunteers are confronted by the home's only ambulance, a Soviet museum piece, highly uncomfortable for the able-bodied, clearly dangerous and quite unsuitable for any child suffering from even the mildest disability. The charity will now raise over €20,000 to replace it. So, how does this group go about judging teen games? Eminently fairly, and without a trace of bias, of course. More importantly, what's their verdict on this TY experience as a whole? The first ever by a group of Irish students to Kazakhstan. How do they look back on it all? What has it all meant to them?
Well, I definitely think it's broadened my horizons. Things aren't just in Ireland. There's such a big world out there, and matured me a lot more as well with the whole idea of having to fundraise from the start as well. Yeah.
It was definitely the highlight of my year in TY. I've matured a lot over doing this. It's made me appreciate things a lot more, basically. I've made new friends and made stronger friendships with the girls that I came over with, which is important.
It was an eye-opener and it changed my life anyway, completely. It really did. The way I look at things, the way that people who I live near look at things, like it's so different, and I won't take anything for granted ever again.
I would just say that it's such a great opportunity, and to be given the chance, to do it and the help to organise it, because, you wouldn't organise this yourself. It's something you need the help from the charity with. But yeah, I would definitely tell them that it's such a great experience, and never take what you have for granted, ever.